Mullen, grumpy old Scotsman, how's everybody doing? So, yeah, apparently Trump's over here on a state visit, which nothing much really happens on a state visit. They go to Buckingham Palace, they get a nice slap-up four-course meal, and then they spend the rest of the state visit on a holiday, essentially. But now and again, they scribble on bits of paper and sign deals. Apparently, there's some kind of tech deal being signed by commie cunt Starmer, the Prime Minister of the UK, and President Donald Trump. But that's about it, really. That's about it. But while over here on his state visit, Donald Trump done this. Trump targets Antifa movement as terrorist organisation. About fucking time. US President Donald Trump on Wednesday signalled new action against left-wing groups. No, routers. No, you see, you're doing the fucking same thing. The rest of the fucking... They're not left-wing. Left-wing groups. Far left-wing communist groups. That's what they are. See, routers and MSNBC and fucking CNN, the minute they see an activist group or a group of protesters either waving a US flag or waving a Union Jack or waving an English flag, they immediately say, oh, far right! Far right! The minute they see protesters or a protest group whose centre in the political scale, not left, not right, centre or a slightly centre right, far right! Antifa is not a left wing. They're not a left wing group. They are a far-left communist group. Get your fucking facts right, routers, along with the rest of you fucking clowns in mainstream media, fucking left-wing. It's groups like Antifa that has me, a normal old-school British lefty, sitting here shaking my head thinking, I don't recognise you people as being left. I don't. I recognise you as being far-left commies, though. Oh, I recognise that part, but I don't recognise you as being left. And the problem here is it's groups like Antifa that's giving everyone else in the left wing of politics a fucking bad name. And I think Donald Trump is completely right to basically brand them as domestic terrorists, because that's exactly what they are. Anyway, left-wing groups following the assassination of right-wing political activist Charlie Kirk, targeting the anti-fascist Antifa movement as a terrorist organisation. Trump said on Truth Social that he was designating the movement as a terrorist organisation. I will also be strongly recommending that those funding Antifa be thoroughly investigated in accordance with the highest legal standards and practices, Trump wrote. Yes. This should have been done during Donald Trump's first term in office, let alone waiting like more than a couple of months or 3 or 4 months, coming to think of it, into his second term in office. He should have done this during his first term. Here's the problem with Antifa. They're not an anti-fascist organisation. Look at the way that they operate. Number one, they are funded by some rather large parties who have got a lot of money sitting around in their slush fund. Soros springs to mind, even though there's no direct ties from Antifa to George Soros. There has been occasional news items popping up over in the United States where Soros funded businesses and Soros funded charities have filtered money into the Antifa group. Now you look at the way Antifa operate. They don't operate with one sole leader at the top. They operate as cells. They do. Individual cells, individual groups across the United States. The Antifa UK cell. They've got a group over here, in fact, 2 groups of Antifa cells in the UK. What other organisations operate as cells? Terrorist groups, normally. Normally, terrorist groups. But look at the way they operate. Antifa only show up when there's 2 things present. 1, the media. 2, the police. If it's a normal, everyday protest by people in the centre or people on the centre right and there's no police and no media, Antifa don't show up. Now the reason Antifa show up with police and with the media is to do 2 things. So normally with the likes of the Epping Forest protests that were going on recently, not so much at the Epping Forest, but there was other illegal migrant protests that were happening around hotels up and down the country. Now the Epping Forest one wasn't targeted as much by Antifa, but there was a couple of other illegal migrant protests that were going on where Antifa protesters were essentially bussed in, or they came in by train. They don't even live in the area. So they're protesting, right? They're protesting for the illegal migrants in that hotel. They're supporting the illegal migrants, some of whom are child molesters, some of whom are paedophiles, but they're still protecting and protesting in favour of the illegal migrants in that hotel. They're bussed in from outside the area. They come in from outside the area. They don't live in the area. So they stand around forming a protective barrier in front of the hotel. And this is when the communist side of the anti-fascist brigade starts to pop out. Unlike the peaceful protesters who are standing at the opposite side of the road protesting at the hotel for keeping these illegal migrants and paedophiles and child molesters who are part of the illegal immigrant group who are sitting there, what Antifa do is they start to throw abuse. They start to goad and bait the men, the women, the locals who are there protesting. They start to goad and bait them into attacking people in the Antifa movement. They throw abuse at them. They throw items at them. They hurl more and more abuse, and in some cases, Antifa have been recorded to start attacking, verbally attacking children who are also part of the illegal migrant protesters who have formed across the road. So let me make this clear. Antifa verbally abuse and attack children on the opposite side in order to goad that kid's parents into attacking Antifa. So number one, the police will get involved, and number two, the usually left-wing media can then hit record on their camera and record the Antifa people being attacked by those nasty far rights. This isn't a left-wing organisation. It's a far left-wing communist organisation that do not want to see the ordinary, everyday British person protesting against illegal immigrants. Because Antifa, this is why I'm concentrating more on Antifa UK, because Antifa over in the US, they kind of follow the same rule book, but they're not as brazen as they are over here in the UK, because the UK police are basically hamstrung right now. The UK police are basically taking Antifa's side in most cases, and this is why when it comes to the protests that happened in the likes of Epping Forest and up and down London about the illegal migrants who are being shoved into hotels, and then all of a sudden, magically surrounding that area where the hotel is, child molestations go up, child rape goes up. Oh, but there's no coincidence at all. But this is the kind of thing that Antifa does. They know they can get away with it over here in the UK. Because the police is not going to stand against Antifa. They're going to take Antifa's side. And this is why people like Tommy Robinson, this is why people like Nigel Farage, and this is why other centre and centre-right individuals in the UK have basically said to the protesters at Epping Forest and the other anti-illegal migrant protesters up and down the country, if Antifa show up, ignore them. Don't take the bait. Don't listen to them. If Antifa start throwing things at you, don't throw the items back. If Antifa start shouting at you, don't shout anything back. If Antifa start attacking your children, which is what they're known for, inform the police. Don't fight back. Because the minute you fight back, The minute one punch is thrown, the minute one slogan is shouted back at them, they will immediately run crying like a bitch to the press. That's Antifa. They are a domestic terrorist organisation, and I 100% fully support Donald Trump and branding them as that. Because if they're branded as a domestic terrorist organisation in the United States, because of all the treaties and all the signatures and all the special relationship thing going on with the UK and the US, it will only take a couple of months for the UK government to essentially be forced to brand Antifa UK as a domestic terrorist organisation. And with Antifa mostly out of the way, it means that peaceful protests like the ones down in Epping Forest against the illegal immigrants, it means that peaceful protests will be that little bit more peaceful without the Antifa far-left communists hanging around, goading fine men and fine women to try and attack them so they can be painted as far-right Nazi thugs all over the local press. Yeah, about time, Donald. That's all I'm going to say.